Wakey. Hello, good morning. It is Friday. Of course, every Friday you have Uongozi Today coming your way. Today, we, of course, take a look at how the week has been. Very eventful week that it has been, of course, with the culmination yesterday of dissolution of the cabinet. So what is the way forward? Right now that we know, the president is walking that lonely road without his cabinet, and how will be the formation moving forward? The Gen Z have spoken. It seems they are on a winning trot after we saw also what happened with the finance bill. This is another one, and of course also with the public debt task force that has been formulated, or it is bound to be, of course, shaken together after we saw the halting of that particular development by the courts. We shall be looking at that and other raft of issues as well moving forward this morning. But for now, let's see how the weather will be. People power. The country has been in the turmoil for weeks after the youth rose to reject the finance bill and push for good governance. After the protest, the cabinet has been dissolved, with the president promising a broad-based and inclusive executive and corruption purge in government. With a cabinet of cronies and political backers, Gen Z and observers are watching on who will be dropped or brought on board as the country waits to see if he will keep his word. And you have a very comprehensive coverage of this that is well laid out for you on page 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 of the publication today. And of course, also there was a prediction there. The writing has been on the wall, and it was a matter of time before the cabinet was sent home. If you may remember that publication of the Last Supper that was headlining the Standard, that is how it looked, and it seems truly that was the Last Supper according to the Standard. This is a people power. That is what is on the front page of the Standard today. The Daily Nation, why they had to fail is what is hogging the headline today. A new start, that is the probing question. Only Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi survived purge even as President promised more measures. Sacked. President William Ruto yesterday fired all but one of his cabinet secretaries as he once again yielded to pressure from the young Kenyans who have protested against unpopular taxes and extravagance by officials in the face of economic hardships by the majority. And while he hopes the move will help cool the heat in the country, it will no longer be business as usual, with his every step and decision under sharp scrutiny. Also, a very comprehensive coverage of this on page 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 of the publication today. And their faces are spread here on the front page of the Daily Nation. Interior and National Administration, that is Professor Kithure Kindiki, Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, National Treasury and Planning, and of course you know the rest of the faces. I don't need to belabor the point. And this is what the president had said as well. One or an excerpt from his speech. He said, quote unquote, upon reflection, listening keenly to what the people of Kenya have said, and after a holistic appraisal of the performance of my cabinet and its achievements and challenges, I have decided to dismiss with immediate effect all the cabinet secretaries and the Attorney General from the Cabinet of the Republic of Kenya, except the Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs. That is what the President said yesterday. And also, still on the front page of the Daily Nation, I think that is the story. No other headlining story there. We have a star. I listen to you. Cabinet is fired. This is what Ruto said. Decision comes after reflection, listening to Kenyans, and after a holistic appraisal. And that story is on page 4 and 5 of the publication this morning, with their faces splashed also on the front page of the Star. Dissolution doesn't impact DP Rigathi Gachagua and PCS should say Musalia Mudavadi. Also still on the front page of the Star, Judge Majanja to be cremated at Kariakor on Saturday. And you have a story on page 11 of the Star today. Good riddance. That is how the People Daily has put it today. Good riddance. Shown the door amidst the cries of Kenyans who lost their brave children for speaking against the insolence of his regime. President Ruto fires cabinet raising queries on his future at State House. You have a story on page 2 and 6 of the publication today. Lonely at the top. Ruto retreats to face reality. Telling picture there. And that is on page 3 of the People Daily. I have decided to dismiss with immediate effect all the cabinet secretaries and the Attorney General from the Cabinet of the Republic of Kenya, except the Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs. As I've said, you can follow the story on page 2 and 6 of the publication today. Afagia wote. That is how Taifa Leo is putting it this morning. Katika hatua iliyotajwa kama kijasiri, Rais atimua mawaziri ambao walihusishwa na ujeuri na ubadhirifu. And you can follow the story. It seems also very telling. That is a garbage bin there, a recycling one. And it says, siasa, Rais William Ruto aliwafuta kazi mawaziri wake wote kufuatia shinikizo kutoka kwa vijana ambao wamekuwa wakiandamana kupinga utawala wake. That story is on page 2 of the publication today. Raila njia panda kisiasa, anahitaji usaidizi wa serikali ili apate kiti cha AU na Gen Z hawatulii. That story is on page 3 of the publication this morning. Business Daily. CEO bonuses of the top NSE firms dip to 735 million shillings. Payment down 82 million shillings on lower profits. Total dividend payout falls to 112.8 billion shillings. Chief executive officers of the 10 largest firms listed on the Nairobi Security Exchange took 82 million shillings hit on their collective annual bonuses in 2023 as shareholders' returns in the form of dividends declined amidst flat profits. And you can read the rest of the details there on page 2 of the Business Daily today. End of the road for cabinet of dollar millionaires. President William Ruto dismissed his entire cabinet with its combined net worth of at least 15.83 billion shillings, bringing an abrupt end to one of the most wealthy and an unpopular group of ministers in Kenya's history. The 24-member team, you can follow the story on page 2 of the publication where it continues. And also, I hope that once the legal matter is settled, Faith Odhiambo and LSK will come back and occupy the center stage in the debt audit. This is just an opinion there by Jaindi Kisero, who thinks that LSK should be part of the public debt forensic auditing team that is headed by Nancy Onyango. You can follow the story inside the Business Daily today. Also, win for travelers as limit of untaxed personal items up. This is on the side, but there, the minimum value of the personal effects that passengers can bring into Kenya without paying tax has been raised fourfold to $2,000. That is $259,477 from $500. That was $64,887.31. KRA nets 43.9 billion shillings in revenue from tax amnesty. Equity narrows gap with Safaricom in profits race. That story on page 13 of the Business Daily today. We cross borders now to Uganda, where government is opening arms to homeschooling. Policy in the offering parents across the country will soon be able to decide whether to enroll their children at school or teach them at home if a government blueprint being prepared by the National Curriculum Development Center gets wings to fly. That story on page 4. Also, Gulu Archbishop designate Wokorach gets a warm welcome. It's a new blood there, they say. You can see him here, the Archbishop designate Raphael Pimoni Wokorach arriving at Our Lady of Trust Pakwach Catholic Church in Pakwach Town Council yesterday. You can follow the story inside the Daily Monitor today. Also remember, you have the scoop. Get all the scoop inside the magazine. It's deep scoop, as they put it. Are concerts still worth your money? That's the probing question. Hustlers, pressure dissolves Kenya's hustler cabinet. That is a story also that is on top there of the Daily Monitor in Uganda on page 3. Right, they're picking up the baton also in Uganda, where they say they'll occupy parliament on the 23rd of this month as well. That is the Gen Z there. In Tanzania, Tanzania Farm makes historic takeover bid. Once done and dusted, Amson's Group's $180 million bid to acquire Kenyan farm Bamburi Cement will rank among the biggest takeover deals in East Africa and create a giant cement producer in the region. That story is on page 2 of the publication today. 6,000, that is Amson's Group, currently has a daily cement manufacturing capacity of 6,000 tons, including through the recently acquired Mbeya Cement Factory. All that tucked away inside the publication today. Ruto dissolves entire cabinet after weeks of deadly protests is another story that you want to follow inside the Citizen this morning. And Latro mounts monitoring systems of Dallas. That story also inside the publication today. The Land Transport Regulatory Authority is considering introducing vehicle tracking device system for commuter buses in urban centers as part of efforts to enhance their monitoring and ensure compliance with the relevant regulations. Right? Dallas, I presume, is matatu there, right? Mr. Kiro, you've been living in Tanzania. They call it Dallas. You can't remember. Daladala.
I lived there.
Yeah, Daladala is Matatu there.
I lived there 72.
72 Daladala was not there.
It was not there.
That's a new lexicon.
It must be. And you know, Kiswahili admits language, new words.
New words. Daladalas. All right, we have the linguist Barak Muluka confirming it is Matatu. In Rwanda, incubation hubs in secondary cities set to be game changer. And at least 4.8 million euros has been dedicated to funding incubation hubs in secondary cities. That story on page 3. And voting for RPF means choosing unity of Rwandans. This is what Kagame is saying. Seems also is coming back. I thought Kagame at one point said that this particular tenure of his is the last, and after this he's bound to, or is taking journalism. He will be a journalist. So still is on the running as well. So we should never take this statement seriously, right? Because I remember very well saying, after this, I think this will be my last term. I'm considering being a journalist, all right? And the East Africa this week, winners and losers in Uganda's new oil deal. Received its first fuel cargo, marking a new era of energy independence, cutting off cartels. But prices are unlikely to change. And we know the tiff now with Kenya regarding the consignment there and the levies that were not declared. You can read the rest of the details inside the publication today. Also, we have it inside the local dailies as well. Somalia pays $7.8 million for EAC budget support. The new kid on the block beats DR Congo, who have not paid a cent in 2 years. Rwanda UK asylum deal dead in water. New PM Starmer vows to scrap Sunak's plan to send migrants to Kigali. And you can find that story on page 6 of the publication today. Subdued Ruto crafts painful austerity plan. That is also on the front page of the East African this week. After facing off with angry taxpayers for weeks, the Kenyan leader on June 5th announced measures to reduce public expenditure, including scrapping 47 state agencies and holding off hiring of assistant ministers and reducing government legacies. You can follow that story inside the publication this morning. Well, that's how they look. And you can grab a copy that really floats your boat. We shall show you also what we have on The Economist, the Newsweek, China Daily as well, and the editorial cartoons much later in the course of the program. But for now, let me just unveil the faces that we're hosting this morning. And of course, we've created FaceTime with Kipruto Arapkirwa, who is a governance and policy analyst. We have Dr. Evans Kidero, also who's a governance and policy analyst. We have Dr. Barak Muluka, who is a strategic communications advisor. And also we do have with us as well Professor Jonah Kindiki, who is a governance and policy analyst. You know what to do. You head over to our X handle at KTN News. That is our X handle, where you can share your contributions, fire your questions. And of course, we shall also be considering those questions, of course, and also discussing them. And, you can follow me at also Dibalane as well. For now, let's hear their voices as well. Just put the voices to the faces. Kipruto Arapkirwa, good to see you. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's also my pleasure to be here this morning.
Right. Your predictions were 60%, right? Yes. 50%. Yeah, you'd said the president should consider dissolving, but leaving some of the ministers as well.
No, what I meant, he does the dissolution. He waits for 10 to 15 days, and he does reflection, bring some, leave the rest.
Leave the rest.
Yeah.
Leave it there. Also, let's hear from Dr. Evans Kidero. You've been watching from the periphery because you've been missing in action. So you've not been on the table to share contributions. So we don't know what your mind is regarding all this dissolution.
Very, very good morning to all the KTN viewers. What a week it has been, and it looks like the Standard Group got it right when they talked about the Last Supper.
It was the Last Supper, yes.
Except there was no washing of feet.
Maybe the washing of feet was yesterday.
Maybe there was inside.
It's been really a very dynamic 4 weeks, culminating in the president dissolving the cabinet. I believe it was not an easy decision, but it's something, and I think his words were very apt, is after deep, very, very deep reflection, and obviously putting the future of the country at the front. He decided to dissolve the cabinet. But I think, this was coming a long time, and in the history, and more particularly, Kenya Kwanza, you'd call, and it was kind of a coalition, because it was a coalition of several parties. So probably even some of the people who were in the cabinet would not have been necessarily his choice, and probably couldn't be reflective of the competencies that was required, but it was payment of political debts. And right now, Kenyans have exercised Article 1. The sovereignty belongs to the power, which is donated through the elected leaders. And I think the president did the right thing. And just as Kira said, I think on reflection and retreating, he'll be able to put up a team that will take Kenya forward. But also is also a week where we lost some gallant sons of the soil. It's a week when we buried Joe Wenjui, who has been a dominant figure in the entrepreneurial space. It's a week when we were burying Michael Oweru, the first, the person who really turned around the tax regime and the tax management in this country. And it's a week when we've lost Bishop Kuna, one of the foremost Kenya spiritual leaders. But last but not least, is Judge Majanja, who is the epitome of performance and the epitome of efficiency. People who've been to his court says he's always dead on time. He's probably one of the judges who gives his judgments on time, never keeps judgment waiting. So justice in Judge Majanja's case was always delivered. And I believe that probably some of the people who the presidents are going to appoint will be reflective of Judge Majanja's dedication and efficiency.
Indeed. All right. Barack, bro. Good morning.
Morning.
Yes.
Yes.
Where were you watching the events yesterday in the afternoon?
In my hacienda.
Hacienda.
Hacienda. Yeah. But
if you can break it down for us.
Never mind. Hacienda, if you know, you know.
For us who are not in the loop, I don't know. I'd love to know.
In the hacienda. Now, this has been coming, of course. Remember, we have been here, and Mheshimiwa Kiru and I postulated that one of the things we expected the president to have done the self-same day, in fact, when he was conceding to the agencies, was to ask for resignation from the entire cabinet. And the starting point for me, certainly, is that the finance bill is processed through cabinet. There must be the approval of cabinet before it goes to the necessary relevant committee of the National Assembly for further processing up to the point that it gets back to him for assent. And that nobody, I want to believe nobody within that entire fraternity was able to caution His Excellency the President about the slippery path that the cabinet, the government and the country was taking with the finance bill is an indictment against the demised cabinet. And therefore, this was always coming. I would expect that when the National Assembly resumes, there will also be changes in the leadership of that assembly. The disdain beyond that, the general comportment and character of this cabinet has been one of disdain. Remember that the president is talking about having assessed the performance of the cabinet over a period of time. It has dawned upon him that he should dismiss. And I want to believe that the words that have been used in this context have been very carefully selected. He did not talk about dissolving, as I've heard it said. He talked about dismissing, and to dismiss means to sack, to axe. Yeah? And if he has dismissed, that would also explain to me why Musalia Mudavadi has survived, because he did not dissolve the cabinet. If he had dissolved, then everybody should have gone, with the exception of the deputy president, who is part of the presidency. And having therefore said that he has listened to the people, and having said, I have heard you, one would expect that the people who have been dismissed will remain dismissed, and they will go and become part of the historical memory of governance in this country, and that he would be putting in place a cabinet that is meritorious and that can serve the country, not people who are thinking that they are there because they have been rewarded. I have seen on the X platform some appalling remarks by one or two who say things like, I was earning a good salary before I got into this space, and gloating. Yeah, so do hope that we do not see any more of this kind of comportment in cabinet again.
All right, thank you, thank you. Let's hear from Professor Jonah Kindiki. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Dibar. Thank you.
Is it appropriate to ask if you've called your brother to commiserate?
Say it again.
Is it appropriate to ask if you've called your brother to commiserate?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Have you spoken? Yes.
You know, those are family matters. I think we need to distinguish between a brother and a cabinet secretary. But at the same time, they are two intertwined. But of course, after losing the position, of course, I told him, Paul, it's normal. And as a brother, there's nothing wrong with that. However, having said that, three things I'll mention Dibar this morning. That the president took a very, very hard decision. It was very difficult, but it was very necessary at the same time. Because looking at the situation of the political situation in the country, it's necessitated the political action to be taken by what the president started by dissolving the cabinet. And it's good enough that although the cabinet was dissolved, he had to retain the coordinator of the ministries, the prime secretary, Honorable Mudavadi. I think, in my view, he won't be coordinating the ministries while the president is thinking of how and consulting on how to reconstitute the cabinet. And of course, the deputy president is there. So they represent the executive, and I think the country is moving forward as we wait for more, maybe, action to be taken by the president. But I remember he said that when there was this unrest and things were not going in the right direction, when he addressed the nation, he said, we should watch the president's actions. He's going to take action, and he did. He has started doing so, and I think as Kenyans, it's something we appreciate, because this has been the mind of, many citizens. But I do believe that the president, as he said, is going to consult widely. He said he will involve multi-sectoral approach, consulting various stakeholders in the political arena, in the opposition, private sector, and other areas. And I think he is going to come up with a lean and effective cabinet going forward. And I think they are not the only ones, as he said, and if you listen to the message sent across the country, he has just started cracking the whip, and I hope that he knows where to go next. But I think, having said that, history repeats itself. It's what happened to the time when I remember the late His Excellency President Kibaki and to dissolve the parliament and reconstitute the parliament so that he could involve as many people as possible. And looking at our political space, some of the people maybe in the cabinet who were not effective, maybe because they were supported by some people somewhere, I think they have no room to survive. And I think if any one of them has to be reconsidered to the next cabinet when it's reconstituted, I think the merit will count, and maybe the way they have been working and the effectiveness and how they have been approaching their ministry, if any, will be reconsidered. And I think the president has also heard the voice of the Gen Zs, because I'm sure they will be also part of the cabinet. Maybe some of them will be included in the cabinet, so there will be the voice of others, because not all of them, of course, can be considered, but some of them will be considered to be the voice of other Gen Zs, and because this is what they have been really clamoring for. And I think as a country, we are starting to get healed, because when people bring their problems to the leader and the leaders listen to them, then they start healing, and the healing process starts. And I hope we are going to achieve some milestone in terms of development. But it's also a warning to the leaders that when you are given responsibility, you don't take it very personal and very individual. You are there to serve the people, and the people have the last say in the office you are holding. It's not anybody's office, it's a public office for all of us, and you are accountable to the members of the public, as the Constitution says. So I think as a country, we have also set an example. If you look at the media, they say that the Gen Zs in Kenya have set a kind of a remarkable impact in the political impact in this country. And there's an example even in other countries, and other countries like Nigeria, Tanzania, they have also tried to regroup. I was reading in the paper, I think yesterday or the other day, the Nigerians have even set a date, I think 1st of August up to 10th of August. They want to hear their views to the leadership of the country. So I think it's something that we should not take it negatively, but something positively, because it's going to contribute to the effectiveness and the management of the country and the development of the country. But finally, I would like also to condole the families that have lost their loved ones in the process, because we have read some people have lost their lives. Some of them in a very, I should say, not well, very ashaming way, because they claim they have been shot, they have been what, and the families have raised their issues, and I think we are very sorry for any issue that arose, but I think as a country we want to accept the fact that the NGCs have already said something, and they have been listened. Others have died on natural calamity, like the judge of the High Court, Honorable Manjanja David, and I think we consult with the families of those leaders and anybody else in the family who has lost their loved ones. So as a country, let's move forward. We support any changes that are going to happen now and in future, so that as long as they are within the framework of helping the country to move forward in terms of development, in terms of unity, and all the things that we require in democracy. So I think the decisions for this week have been very difficult, but I think they are very necessary at the same time. Yep.
But what do you mean that they claim they have been shot? I mean, it's evident. The evidence is out there. You've seen from the pictures, right? Shooting while there. It's not a claim. It's a fact.
Yeah, but you see, facts need to be substantiated. I have.
How does?
I am not the one to pronounce what happened, but what we read and what we see. That's why I've said we are very sorry of what happened, and we consult with the families. Other details, I think I'll stop there. Somebody else should also continue.
They claim they are dead.
Yeah.
I've not seen them claim they are dead.
Yeah. You see, when I listen to professors, sometimes I just keep quiet. Even when he says that President Kibaki dissolved the parliament.
Not parliament, the cabinet.
Oh, it was a slip of tongue.
Yeah. but I think the bar, I think the bar, like last week, what I said is that let's get issues right. And I think in this forum, personally, I would like to say that if you say something, let the colleagues also support or disagree, but in a more friendly way. Does it look like we are coming here to fight one another or something like that?
Thank you.
Kibaki dissolved the cabinet. It's not parliament. Maybe the way I was taught English.
No, it just needed a clarification. Let's not split hairs.
Cabinet.
All right, let's.
About shooting.
Thank you, Prof.
It's
Thank you.
not on my desk, but I'm just saying that that's what I've read in the papers, and we have also condoled with the family. So investigation will be done, Dibar.
Thank you. No, you accept us. We need to probe what you say.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And of course, in this,
and I've clarified.
Fantastic. Kipruto, I just wanted to begin on this particular note now that the president has dismissed the cabinet's largely part of his government. We have only one remaining, and we know the deputy president, as far as the constitution is concerned, he is the person who cannot be fired by the president. But the fact that also it has come to bear, people are questioning. We have the Attorney General who has the benefit of tenure of office. And the people are saying, has the president also overplayed his hands in firing the Attorney General? As far as the Constitution is concerned, we saw maybe other Attorney Generals we've had before, they've resigned, or they've been actually shoehorned to resign.
Well, Dibal, I find ourselves at a very interesting moment in the history of this country. And I was reflecting last night, I realized that since the advent of the second multipartyism, we've not quite accepted that when we go for elections, it will produce two separate results. Those who will be in government and those who will be in the opposition. I say so because immediately after 92 elections, a number of MPs were paid to defect to Kanu. Some of them never came back. Some of them came back through a very laborious exercise that cost the government and the people a lot of money. After 97 elections, again, there was the so-called cooperation between KANU and NDP. And that also culminated in NDP joining KANU under some kind of coalition arrangement. And at the end of it all, it was like a happy moment for the opposition because Raila Odinga was able to come back with a number of people who would not have left KANU on their own volition, but the momentum that was generated by NDP might have given them some courage, and so forth and so on. The only time that I think we did not have any serious onslaught on this framework of multipartyism is after 2013 election. We stayed the entire 5 years.
Allow me to butt in because I think your mic has a problem.
Okay.
So if you could just sort it out, don't lose your track of thought as I pick up with Dr. Kidero on this I just asked the same question regarding the legality of this. We are seeing any spawning ground for litigation in the courts. Someone will move and say, you know, the president did not really have any right to fire the Attorney General because he has been cushioned by the Constitution. As we've seen also with the task force that also it's challenged in the court.
I think
for the public needs, yes.
Article 152 of the Constitution
is very clear.
Is very, very clear in appointments and reassignments and dismissals of his appointees. And I think the only time when the president needs to consult is in the appointments, because he can nominate, including the AG, but it has to be approved in Parliament. But when it comes to reassignment and in dismissals in Article 152, all of them, the members of the cabinet, the Attorney General, serve at the discretion of the president. So the Constitution gives him express authority and express powers to do that. But I also don't think that there is a vacuum in our system. Take, for example, the ministries. During general elections, when the ministries have always been ran by and actually accounting officers in the ministries has always been the principal secretary, so there's no vacuum. And even in the Attorney General's office, I think the president has got many people whom he can consult, including the Solicitor General, who's not been affected in this. So I don't see any vacuum, but I also don't think that there are any legal impediments that would stop him do what he did.
Right, Barack.
Yes, I concur. I have not seen anywhere where they say that the president may not dismiss the Attorney General, and the AG is listed under 152, I believe, as one of the members of the cabinet. Of course, we know that the president cannot dismiss the deputy president. That is the one state officer who I know to have security of tenure, and who can only be removed through the impeachment processes. I think the AG, the act under which the Attorney General serves provides for the possibility of dismissal by the president on the basis of poor performance, or if the president is not satisfied with the performance. But I would wait to see how that goes. I also think that the AG saw it coming. You saw he was quoted in the press yesterday as distancing himself from some of the decisions that have been made in the recent past. He clearly must have had an inkling into what was
coming
in the offing
for him. Indeed, and this is not the first time that he's actually raised those claims. We've seen before, even with the housing levy, it's come out categorically that he was never consulted. So was he secluded? Was he slighted off? And he knew here my days are numbered as well. Is it because if he's not consulted, then how do you gauge his performance? Yes.
Was never consulted on these things and many others before. But there's one thing which astounds me as Barack in this country, that you will be dissatisfied with the environment, that you think you are not adding any value, and you still continue to occupy that space. I have never understood. The damn thing is to disengage. And then when you have disengaged, you can speak as robustly as possible about that environment. But provided that you remain in that environment, just accept to eat the humble pie and eat that bread of sorrow and drink from the cup of affliction. You cannot be sitting there, remaining as Attorney General, saying that I've not been consulted, that I was surprised to see the boots in the streets. Somebody should have talked to me about it, that I was surprised to see this audit team being put in place. I was not consulted. What are you doing there?
What are you doing there? Right. Professor, before we take a short break.
Yeah, thank you, Dubar. I think the president has the mandate to maybe disengage the Attorney AG or the Attorney General. I don't see whether the Constitution bars the president from doing so because it's part of the cabinet. But having said that, Dubar, the AG has been complaining that he has not been consulted. But that's one side of the story. I've not heard him say also whether he has consulted, because consultation is both ways. If I feel that you don't consult me on some issues, I should also say whether I consult you. So it can't be one way. So I think if you are working for the government or for any kind of institution, I get, as my colleague says, I get surprised when someone now criticizes the system and you're also in the system, because when decisions are made, they are made collectively. They don't belong to an individual. And you sit in that meeting. For example, now we are the 5 of us here. So if something is agreed, whether I talk or I don't talk, then it becomes, something has been agreed by this group. And we have our chairman or the person who is moderating. So I can't go out there and say, oh, I wanted to say something, but the chairman never gave me time to say it, because I also don't know whether I also give the chairman time to say something. So there could be some kind of dissatisfaction, which are maybe personal and not the interests of the country, because if they are the interests of the country, we should embrace the decisions done, whether they are good or bad, but they are our decisions. And we don't need, there's also, you take some kind of oath of secrecy. You don't just go and reveal information which is, makes the group to work together. And I think it's not good. And as a management perspective, from a management perspective and governance perspective and leadership perspective, in all those perspectives, I think with all due respect, I think such things we hope in future should not be happening. If you feel so much agitated, as my colleague says, you disengage yourself. And there are many ways of doing that. We don't give a solution. So I think I haven't heard any other member of the cabinet dissociating himself or herself with the decisions that are made until the time when it was dissolved yesterday at 2 p.m. So I think even the next cabinet, which is going to be constituted, we hope the next AG will be part of the team, because really, Kenyans read a lot, and the leaders, as the word goes, they are leaders, and we follow them. So now, if you are a leader, and then you tell me I'm not sure of what I'm doing,
yes,
then we doubt you. We doubt your leadership. So I think I don't know really the details behind, but I'm talking from the outside. What I think.
Okay. Right. Could we take a short break, Dr. before we continue? We can circle back with you and then.
No, but what I wanted to say is, from my experience in private sector, having been a CEO, in that a lot of the people who get fined life are not the 8 to 5 people or people who only do what is in their job description. What takes you fine life and what makes you valuable, at least in the organizations which I work for in multinationals, is these are people who don't have reporting time and knocking off time. But there are also people who do a lot more beyond their job description. So for one to increase their value, so I would want to imagine that the president would be more, if you are a lot more proactive, then the president will seek you out a lot more often. But if one just sits back and waits to do what is in your job description, that doesn't increase your value. Yeah.
Indeed. So he was no material utility to the president after all, because he was confined just with the JED. We take a short break right now. When we circle back, of course, we also interrogate how the president now is on the sharpest edge of the horns of dilemma, right? With the appointment of the new cabinet, so to speak. We have a conversation of the government of national unity, also that is in the public domain right now. And the Gen Zs, they don't want to hear any of it. They're saying, no, we don't want all scripts, of course, the same monkeys in the new forest as well. So how will it be for the president with his choice of the next cabinet secretaries? That's the problem question that we need to interrogate as well. And the Gen Zs also are not flinching. They're saying also we need to see some of the parastatals that are held by, two ethnic communities, as the shareholders was being put across by the deputy president. That also needs to be shaken into place to give it a face of Kenya. We'll circle back with that and more. Don't go away. You're watching Uongozi today here on Morning Prime.